What did you want so badly to be good, but just wasn't? The movie version of The Giver. I think Jeff Bridges did a great job, and it's a visually appealing movie. But they didn't need to add in the romance. They should have stayed true to the book. Also, they made the chief elder, who had barely any lines, into a major character. The book didn't need her as an antagonist. Her addition made the movie feel much different than the book did. It's impossible to properly adapt in the first place because the whole deal with color has to be either dropped entirely or obvious from the beginning. I refused to watch it when I saw that the actor playing Jonas didn't have blue eyes. It was one of the major traits of his character and the reason he was special. I think a love interest is basically a requirement for any of the garbage Hollywood pumps out these days. They were supposed to be 13 and they look 27. Moon shoes. I worked at a Goodwill taking donations in my early 20s. We got a pair of moon shoes on a slow afternoon, making sure no one else was around. I strapped those bad boys to my feet, ready to feel some magical, bouncy, childhood joy. My feet immediately sunk to the floor. My ashamed ass took them off, forgetting that they had a weight limit that my adult self had far surpassed. Stupid moon shoes. I was disappointed with my moon shoes as well. I literally almost broke my fucking ankle on those within like 5 minutes of getting a pair for Christmas when I was a kid. LMAO. Mine were fun for one joyous moment. Then I tried to bound over the couch and sprained both my ankles at the same time and my head collided with the coffee table. My mom threw them out the next morning. The Dark Tower movie. The only saving grace of this movie was that I could tell the source material was going to be incredible and finally read the series. No regrets. But man, did I cry a lot. Came here to say this. Akiva Goldman forgot the face of his fucking father with that mess. Came here for this. Fuck that god-awful movie. I heard there's a TV series in the works. I hold no hope for it, but I will give it a look whenever it comes to my attention that it's been released. How do we get that garbage movie while it is getting the quality production it deserves? So irritating. A beer that a local brewery made that was a white chocolate stout. It tasted like a bag of nickels. Smoky beers. I love smoky food. I was so excited. Usually ends up tasting like bacon left in the sun. My sister and her husband brew beer together. Last year for Christmas they made a chocolate peanut butter one. He gave it to me to try and it tasted like soy sauce until it warmed up a bit. Sorry. Made me laugh. The fried chicken at Walmart. Like 4 out of 5 times I buy it. There's a restaurant in my town that serves a mushroom Swiss burger. Every time I go there I order it and think maybe this time it will be good, but it's always a disappointment. I don't know why I keep doing it. Edit. For everyone asking where, it's a locally owned place, not a chain. Similarly, bakery treats from Walmart. I have never had a bakery treat from Walmart that was anything other than subpar. And still I get suckered in by pretty cakes and croissants and pies every time I shop. Pacific Rim Uprising. I just loved the first movie. But I can't watch it without cringing at the kids. Came here to say exactly this. Was totally stoked for the second movie. And it was unwatchable. Charlie Day. What were you thinking? I think the fact that Del Toro didn't direct the second movie had a lot to do with it. Such a letdown. I didn't mind the kids so much as the kid drama. It doesn't matter how many hormones you're high on. In a group of less than a dozen, no real human being is going to hate on the new kid after finding out she built a mech out of scrap metal in her own orphan tears. They should have focused more on light-hearted note to convey that kids can still kid, even in the apocalypse, then destroy their hearts and mind by sending them all out to die as child soldiers. I always pick the wrong thing in restaurants and the badness seems to be directly proportional to my level of hunger. The rule for me is to never try anything new if I'm super hungry. At that point, everything seems good. BC, you just want food. I feel bad laughing at your suffering, but the way you said this is just hilarious. Stalk the Yelp menu, food pictures for hours before you go to the restaurant, like a normal person. The secret is not to order what you want, but rather what you think the restaurant is especially good at. If in doubt, ask the server what they think the really special things on the menu are. Some stuff is just there to provide a safety valve to confused patrons, and it is often not their best. You have to be a little adventurous, but you will be pleasantly surprised more often than not. The ending of The Walking Dead. After 4 or 5 seasons, I was really ready for a satisfying conclusion to our hero's story. Instead, they slowly killed them all off, replaced them with new people at gaff about, and the damn thing is still on the air a half-decade later. Has it ended yet? I stopped watching a couple years ago. Everything after the prison went very downhill. Thankfully, the comics just had an amazing ending after being consistently good for 16 years. You should give them a try. I used to religiously watch it with my husband. It was the best. We would walk out onto the porch after, and the neighbors would be outside and we would all talk about what happened. Now, I haven't watched it since the episode about what happened with Carl. That was the last time I cared, which is sad. We keep trying to remind ourselves to turn it on and catch up, but still haven't. It makes me sad with the direction that show took. I got as far as Carl getting conveniently bitten a few months before the actor was due to turn 18 and start requiring an adult paycheck and went, fuck this. Aragon movie. They reduced the fantastical city in a mountain to an unimpressive village on the side of a mountain. They forgot Oric entirely. Sophia's wings. It made me cry. Such a wasted potential. I came here to post this. Fuck, they did a bad job. Second place is the Ender's Game movie. Came here to say the same thing. My best friend's sister has a voicemail from him pocket dialing her while we hear hi AF'n botching about it. It's like 45 minutes long and covers about half of the entire conversation. Riverdale. Everybody in my class liked it, but I hated it. I grew up reading the Archie comics. In the comics, all the teenage characters are goofy, square, and dress like dorks, while every resident adult is either old, fat, balding, or all three. Now we've got a sexy jughead in a universe where Archie has an affair with Ms. Grundy, who is like 70 in the comics. If I was sent back in time and had to convince childhood me of what was coming, he wouldn't believe me. First season was good, second was a bit of a mess, and the third one was a shit show. Pretty sure every single viewer of Riverdale is watching just how it's so bad that it's good it can get. That being said, the show is fucking atrocious. Riverdale is the first show to be written by predictive text. Best tweet ever. I knew it was gonna flop when Veronica told Kevin, "You're gay? Be my gay best friend," on the first episode. Something along those lines, but she definitely said it. Justice League. All I want is a live-action Justice League movie with Darkseid. Is that too much to ask? Yes. Warner Brothers. Red Delicious Apples. I'm 63 and I assure you, Red Delicious Apples lived up to their name when I was a kid. Sometime in the 1980s they became flavored wood. A similar thing happened to Bartlett pears. My dark theory is that Gresham's law works for fruit. They're the rose art crayons of fruit. Absolutely worthless. Pink Lady, Jazz, and Gala are the bomb. I was a very nerdy little boy, and when my family was planning a vacation to Washington, D.C., the only thing I desperately wanted to see was the Library of Congress. I desperately wanted to walk through the shelves of the biggest library in the world and bask in all its literary glory. But when got there, we discovered the horrifying truth. The public isn't allowed to walk among the books. Apparently, the Library of Congress is for Congress people. I was so disappointed that I cried. My parents tried to make up for it by getting me ice cream this year, but the ice cream didn't dull the pain. 30 years later, and still I mourn. Guess you run for Congress then, dude. Dudette. The Library of Congress is open to the public. You just need to go to the Madison or Jefferson building to get a library card. They're right next to the lock. It takes under 10 minutes. Then pretty much the whole library is at your fingertips. It's pretty magical. And, if it makes you feel any better, here's a slightly less magical story about the lock. My family took me there when I was young. I was similarly excited. However, they left me unattended, and I had a very uncomfortable experience when an older man basically attempted to get me to leave the library with him. I was too young to understand much more than the stranger danger aspect of this. But looking back, I'm quite glad I didn't leave with him. So maybe you dodged a bullet by not going. Person shrugging male sign.
That's it!